Okay, I think we have most everybody here. Let's go and get started. Today, the main deal on or the main topic for today is how to actually use the OASIS data and linking it to other applications. Today, I'll work mostly inside of Excel. I do have the ability to get into Power BI and show a little bit there. And that one's going to be a little more interesting because just it takes a little bit more to get everything set and go. So I'll touch into Power BI. I don't know how much we'll actually see in there. I have some basics to show, and it works real good. It's just a little different environment. All right, so for today, let's go ahead and do the agenda real quick. So I'll have some examples on how you can utilize the OASIS data externally. I've seen no limit on this one. I've had customers say, "Hey, we're doing this thing over here. Take a look at it." I was like, "Oh, wow. I didn't know. Never would have thought of that." And it's just trying to use the data in other interesting ways. Security is always a concern. Anytime you're dealing with anytime you're dealing with data security, you just have to understand that you have to. Sorry, we're getting sirens around here for some reason. Uh, the data out there, make sure somebody can't get a hold of the data that you don't want to have access to it. So we'll talk through that. That's an important element. And then there's a lot of APIs that we have, and even more coming that are public. We'll get into little details there. Like as I mentioned, Excel would be my primary way of showing you how to link data, but it's not limited to that. There's a lot of ways to do this. And then linking Power BI, we'll talk briefly on that one. And then basically availability is it's been out here for a while. So this is not new tech. It's just a little bit more information on how it all works. All right, so let's get into some examples real quick, just real high level. Data visualization. I have a lot of folks that still use Excel, pulling data into columns, tabular format, or even creating charts inside Excel, creating those for monthly meetings or quarterly meetings or even yearly meetings. This is just another way of doing it. So if you've ever gone into Excel and either copy pasted data out of OASIS or simply printed to Excel, this simply allows you to link directly into the OASIS database from within Excel. And like I said, that's a good example. I have more and more folks creating Power BI dashboards and using similar software to do the same thing. It works great. It's just you have to get in that environment, and we can't help in that environment. We can help with the APIs moving the data back and forth. And then there's data modeling software out there. There seems to be a new one every day is trying to contact me and saying, "Hey, don't forget about us." It's just kind of nice to see what people are doing out there. All right. The other thing that I have more and more folks like to do is they'll have other data, either from another backend system they're using with OASIS, or maybe they want to take. I have a customer right now that's wanting to take a table information and group data from within OASIS together to create other reports. And this allows you to basically create the Excel data from the OASIS data, merge it with maybe data that's already in Excel, the table, and then create another report. So it's kind of neat. I won't have a chance to show you that one, but that one's actually pretty easy to do if you know how to work within Excel. And then there are other data process flows. I do have some folks actually creating mailing lists and pulling OASIS contact data into other systems like MailChimp is one of them, Constant Contact. That's all doable. It's just really limited by your imagination on how to use the data out there. There's some things we can do, and there's some things that we simply can refer you to their documentation on. Is really where I'm trying to get to on that. So, all right. Let's see if I have everything here. Yeah. Okay, cool. Just want to make sure the recording was going. All right, security. So let's talk a little bit about security before we get any deeper. You have to have OASIS online for this to work because that's the security that we have on there. So let me show you what you have to do first to make everything work. So let me bring up my test environment over here. So I have a OASIS online login. So I've already logged in. This is the home screen, if you will, for OASIS Online. And the first thing I have to do is I have to go over and create a security token. So underneath the little question mark over here, there's a little section that says security settings. And down at the bottom are authentication and other little details in here. One of them is this generate API bearer token. That's what you need to do. Once you generate that token, it creates a new one at the bottom each time. I like to name them. So what I'll do is I'll call this webinar. Okay. And that will tell me what I use this key for. So if you're creating a bunch of Excel reports that you're going to give to other individuals in the company, you probably want to create a token like this, give it a name, so later you can remove it. So if I hit the little minus sign over here, that will actually remove that token and remove that link to Oasis. So again, security, what's nice about tokens is you can create one and use it in a project and then remove it. So anybody that tries to access the system using that token later will be denied. So I didn't put webinar back there. Okay, and the other thing you need to do is do an expiration date on here. They expire pretty quick. We do that on purpose. So if you do want to use one for a while, you may want to push that date out. Again, be careful on this because as long as that key is active, if somebody gets it, they can use the APIs to read data from within your OASIS instance. Okay, and Trini, let me know if there are any questions. I'll keep pressing on all this. The last thing you really need to do on this is actually pull the key. What I'll do is I'll just highlight the whole thing. We used to have a little click and copy thing, but it looks like we need to put it back in. Once I copy that, then I can use it within my Excel linkage back to the system. And I'll show you how that works here real quick. All right. So that's a little bit on the security. The other part about the user that you log in with, they must have access to the data. I had one group that got mad at me. Is like, it doesn't work, you know. So they went in, they created an Oasis user, which is fine, and they took away all the rights and created the security token. Then it couldn't read anything. So you are effectively that user when you log in or use that key. So it's not a bad idea to create a user that has no write or update access, but if you take everything away, then they don't have the ability to pull any data. All right. Now, as I hinted at, when you're using Excel, the bearer token is stored in the file. You'll see this real quick. So if I send that file to somebody else, they have that token. Just know that, and you can revoke that key like I did a second ago just by hitting that little minus sign and making it go away. But you do give that key away, and they do have the ability to refresh the data and use any of the APIs. Okay. Now, what's nicer about Power BI, and I hope I have a little bit of time to get into a little bit of Power BI, but you can actually store it inside the Power BI environment and then just give access to the end reports to the people you want to have access to it. And that's actually a better solution if you're really going to share that information dynamically with someone else. So if you want to share it with other people in the business, Power BI is probably what you want to lean towards later. But there's really nothing wrong with Excel. You just have to understand that you have to revoke that token once you're complete.
Brian, quick question.
Yep.
Are these API keys, are we able to store these as environment variables in, say, a standalone web app, or can it only be used with Excel and Power BI?
So yeah, so if you're going all that way, I'm going to keep fairly user-centric on this, but yes, the first thing I'm going to, well, actually, I'm going to show you exactly how to do that in Excel. It's very similar in Power BI. You can create a parameter, I think they call it, and store it one time and then change it. And what's nice there is you could actually create the report, delete the token out, and then send it to somebody. But just be careful on that one. If you're in a true web app out there, yeah, I'd definitely do what you're saying. Create it as a parameter or a global variable, as some of them call it, and use it from there. You bet. That's pretty much the way I always do it. All right. Watch your expiration date on the token on that one too. So there's a lot of little gotchas in there. All right. Any other security questions? Because that's the one thing I want to make sure everyone's most familiar with. All right. By the way, if you delete or remove the user, like say they're a bad actor and you end up firing them, just inactivate their account, and then that does the same thing for all their tokens. All right, Oasis Data APIs. So we do have, I have seen some people trying to hack the Oasis online environment and pull data in all the different ways. You kind of get what you get on that one. We're not fond of that because we do change our proprietary APIs all the time. What I'll be showing you today are our public APIs, so they're published. We do that because we're going to support the publish APIs as they are from now on. I mean, that's well, I can't guarantee from now on, but it is if there's something wrong with them or if we do a major change to the system, we will take every effort to make sure that they work in the future. If you use a proprietary one, the developers are always adding and removing those APIs, so they may not even be there, next year. That's just the way software works. All right. Listing APIs will be I'll actually be showing you the customer listing, manufacturer listing, quote listing, PL listing, invoice listing, payment listing, and probably some others in there. Just those are the different ways of pulling data directly out of OASIS that are easiest to explain to a lot of folks. The transaction APIs down at the bottom are really hard, and I'm not going to cover those today. Anybody who's doing web apps and wanting to get really deep, there's more information on those that we can get you. But yeah, they're hard to explain in a user-centric form like this. We have the My Order Summary Report. Moser is what we like to call it. It is now an API as well, and that's what we're trying to do with more and more of the OASIS data is make it available through the published APIs, so you can use them however you need to, really. And what's nice about that is you don't have to use the low-level transaction APIs to figure out how to total a quote. It just does it the same way OASIS does it, and then you can put it in a data lake if you know what that is, or just inside of something like Excel and report on it. So, any questions on the data APIs? We're about to get deep into it here. All right. Oops, sorry. All right, here we go. So my recommendation, and for the more user-centric, this is going to look a little scary initially, but I hope to demystify it a little bit. And I'm going to do that using ChatGPT. We have some cool tools nowadays that can actually help you write code. So we're going to do that. And then we go through a number of these examples. I will get a little, how should I say, I'm going to cheat here in a minute to speed things up, but let's go through this one step at a time. So let me start. I'm on a Mac. It doesn't matter if you're on a Mac or if you're on a Windows box. It all works the same. So we're going to create a blank workbook, okay? But now I'm like, well, now what do I do? So I'll show you the details here, but I also want to write a query in. Let's go to our friend over here. Oh, actually, I have it in the background. So what can I help with? This is old Chat GPT. If you have others, that's fine as well. So I was trying to come up with a great way to do this. So what I want to do, and uh, uh, this recording will be available if you forget some of the terminology here, but I need to ask the system what, how to create a query on there. So I'm literally going to ask it create and it's called Power Query script to pull data from a JSON API into Excel. And what the magical thing is, I have let's see, the URL to the API for a get. It knows what that is, and a token, and it knows what that is. All right, so now it's going to do its little Chat GPT thing, which is kind of cool. And it's going to write some query, and usually it's pretty close. Sometimes it gets a little weird, but anyway, let's see if it does it correctly today. It did it spot on the other day. And let's do this thing. If not, I'll just cheat if it takes too long. All right, so it did this awesome thing here. Let's see if it did it well. And again, the reason why I like this is it really gives us a little bit more of the information that's on here. So it really got crazy. So sometimes it goes bonkers like this. And yeah, that's weird. So that looks complicated. And just pull the data. So it did a lot more than it did last time. So let me see if I can just keep it simple.
He's showing us how to connect with OASIS using an API. So, but sounds like we could just
And it looks like it's going to take a while on this. So I may actually just cheat and do what it normally does. So that's the fun thing about ChatGPT. Sometimes it does real good and sometimes it does weird stuff. My main point on this is you can use ChatGPT, there's a lot of videos on Excel, and there's a lot of videos on Power BI. So there's a lot of good information out there to help people get into a lot of this without a lot of effort. So yay. Okay. It's done most of what I wanted it to do right through here. And let me see. Yeah, it's trying, I know what it's trying to do. This part right here. So,
Jason, I'm sorry, Brian. What is the JSON? I may have missed that. What
good
does that
point.
stand for?
Okay. So, I'll show you here in a second. So, let's go ahead and let it do its thing. So, let me back up a step because and thanks because you actually helped me on this. So, really, what we're trying to do, I was hoping to get ChatGPT to behave today. I guess it's not. JSON is a communication protocol, and let me show you exactly what it looks like because that'll speed things up even more. Let me go into OASIS. Just create my little test account here. And let's focus on just a listing of manufacturers. Let's keep it real simple today, or at least to start with. So I have my OASIS, and I go to manufacturers, and let's just show all my manufacturers. Okay. What I just did here is what I want to do inside Excel. We'll do the same thing for orders and quotes and everything else. And what it was is I pulled a bunch of manufacturers and they're in column format. So we can do something with this data. But what I want to do is link Excel doing the same thing back and forth. And that's where JSON comes in. Okay. So let me do the same thing over here inside of my OASIS Online. So let me go to general here. Where are we at? General. Okay. So inside the APIs, the way they work is we do like a lot of other online apps. Is there's a little code or base URL. So this is just the load server and then the instance out here that I'm using. So you'll have some web server out there and your instance name, whatever support give you. And then API is the APIs that we have published. So I'll do Ajax equals manufacturer listing, and it's found one in the past. Manufacturers listing. And notice that little curly brace right there is telling me he didn't really find anything. Okay, so this again is this funky looking little code stuff here. That's embedded in something called JSON. And really all JSON is it's a key, what they call a key value pair. So there's like a double quote and it says exception stack. And then there's this message in here that's all gobbledygook, you know. Um, so let's go ahead and get some data real quick. So the way the OASIS APIs work is I have to tell it what I want to pull out, and this is part of the documentation in there that we'll send us at the probably in the newsletter coming up here. We'll have all the doc in here. But what I want to do is I want to tell it what I want. So I want any let me see, manufacturer name equals star. So I'm going to take everything in the database, okay? And I could even say active equals yes. So I want, just like you do inside of OASIS, I want to see all the active manufacturers. That's it. And I want a listing, because again, it's just part of the protocol here. I want to show the manufacturer ID and the manufacturer name. Okay. Still got something wrong. And find out what it means it didn't like this. Let me cheat and just pull another one. That's what I hate about doing these. And there's a little window right here, but I want to show you one time the hard way. Listing equals manufacturer name, D kind. So you can find object. Usually that means just doesn't like this. So new ID. There we go. It's happy now. Okay, so this is JSON. It is simply just a protocol. And like I said, it defines this double quote name. So I have a double quote here with a key, and then a double quote that has the actual value here. Here's an ID and then the actual ID. And this protocol can be read by Excel and a lot of other applications out there. My goal isn't really JSON. My goal is to show you how to actually wrap that inside of Excel. Okay, so if ChatGPT is working and you get it to dumb things down for you, here's what it normally says. And here's the steps you want to kind of walk through. First thing is you have to go in and start Power Query. So again, this is a little bit heady, and I have a shortcut for all this. So hang on a minute. I'll show you the shortcut here in a minute. But one thing you do have to know is to pull data in, you have to go to this little data menu over here. And then under where it says Get Data, it says Launch Power Query Editor. And this looks a little scary the first time you come in here, but after you look at it, and again, this video's out there, and my Excel that I'll send you will help this quite a bit. Now, once you have it in here, what you have to do is create a blank query. So usually what I'll do is I go over to the Get Data and say blank query, and it just loads everything in. Okay. Now, there's a lot of difficult ways of doing this. What I will send you, or what I was hoping to get out of ChatGPT, is a real simplified script. Okay. And I'm borrowing one over here. I had a funny feeling I'd have some difficulty, so I'd plan B. The main thing is you have this token thing, and the first time you look at this weird code stuff, you're like, ugh. But the main thing is you have a token, you have a base URL, you have the API that we're using, and then you have this listing. So remember over here, I was typing in listing equals some gobbledygook, and then search says manufacturer ID equals and active and all that other weird stuff. We'll get into what this is here in a minute. But the main thing is you have your token, your base API, and then what you want: manufacturers, customers, quotes, orders, whatever it is you're trying to pull. Most of the time, the rest of this gobbledygook down here, you just leave it alone, okay? And or watch a video if you want to get real crazy on it. But watch what happens next. So I say next, it immediately pulls that data in. So it wasn't, this is a blank spreadsheet. It pulled everything in just like that into the system so I can preview what I'm pulling in. That allows me to expand on this, okay? So now let's talk a little bit more about the listing and the search. So the listing in here is literally any column that's inside this manufacturer's listing. Is it valid for me to use? So I can literally go to File and Preferences and add anything in. So I can add in the currency if you're in Canada doing international buys and stuff like that. I can pull in the overage cap, the overage split. Any of these columns are valid for me to pull in and specify as part of that Power Query or pull it into Excel. Let me pull in, I don't know, overage split, I guess. That'll work. So all I have to do is where it says listing here, I simply add in over. Okay. Now, what can I do a search on? Again, same thing over here. This is literally the same code that does the find is the search. So I say manufacturer ID equals star. The reason why manufacturer name wasn't working is it's just name. I forgot that. So whatever the tags are here, they're pretty much the same over in the when you're doing the API call. So if you're using Excel, it's in Power Query. If you're using another app, it may be in their little language that they have out there. Okay. Any questions on this? I know it's a little heady at the moment, so bear with me if you're more of a user. If you're a tech person, fire away. All right. Um, that's what I like most about the listings. And again, I have a shortcut for all this. But what's nice about this for users is it's really easy to figure out what the tags and the search criteria are, because you literally just go into OASIS, whether it's the desktop version like this, or if you go back to the browser version, it's the same columns and it's the same search routine. And the same is true whether you're using manufacturers or orders. You just simply do the find, and all these different search criteria will go in the search. And then the listing is basically anything you do in preferences. Probably should have called it preferences, but it's just the way the API works. All right. Any questions so far? Uh-oh. Let's close and load. Now, notice it's saying getting data, and it's going to load that into my spreadsheet. And it included the overage split. At this point, there's no difference between this and anything that I typed in or copy pasted in Excel, other than at any time I can go back over to the data section over here and have it refresh all. I can click refresh all, and that'll actually refresh all the queries by updating with new data from OASIS. So if new manufacturer list, a listing of orders this week, orders this month, whatever it is you can envision, you can pull it in here. And that includes cascading updates into any charts that you might have created out of it or any details there. So any questions so far? And then I'm going to show you the cheat.
Right.
Yep.
And can we like schedule this to run automatically?
So that requires Power BI. So with Excel, well, first of all, the OASIS Online is out there waiting for the request at any time. Okay. And through Power BI, I'll show you this here after a bit. At least I hope I have a little bit of time to do this. You have to do that because it does not immediately refresh. I'll get a little more into some more of the reasoning behind this, but it allows you to go through and say every morning or afternoon or every 30 minutes or whatever, refresh that view based upon fresh data from OASIS. And it cascades and updates any of the reports that were built off of it. It's really neat.
But that's only in the server in the cloud version, right?
Yeah, well, yeah, you have to have the cloud version of OASIS to link at all. But Power BI, you have to have the. Actually, I don't know. I would assume you have to have the online version of Power BI to do the schedules.
No, no. What I mean is, like it's the only like in Oasis one is the only way to call this data. You can't do it to the server, the server client.
Exactly. Yeah.
Yeah.
So yeah, the desktop version of OASIS does not know how to speak JSON. Okay. And
Yeah.
that's the premise for this whole bit.
Yeah.
Once you have
No,
OASIS, yep, cool. All right. That's a good one. Sorry, I thought I was more clear, but that's an important detail. No. Oh. All right. Any other questions there? All right. So there is, and I've already hinted at support on this that y'all be calling, but there is a cheat. So let me just get rid of this one in case we have more questions here in a minute. What I created a while back, and I've been expanding on it here recently, is a OASIS data examples sheet. And what I did to kind of speed things up for everybody is, first of all, you can just email or call support and say, hey, I want the OASIS data examples Excel spreadsheet. They're probably going to be kind of confused today, but after we ask them a few times, they'll figure it out. The only sheet that shows is how to use. So use this workbook to create, and it has all the details in there. And it shows a few examples through here on how to actually work within this spreadsheet or create your own from this. Okay. So what I would do on this one is simply save it to the side. And every time you want to create a new project where you're pulling data into Excel, by the way, this exact same technique works in Power BI. That's one reason why I think this is kind of neat. I can go through and follow the details here. So let's go to data. Okay, and do exactly like I did before. I hit this little drop down thing and say launch Power Query Editor. Now, because Excel is security conscious as well, it says, hey, do you want to basically activate the linkage back to OASIS? Yes, please. Okay, so now that's active. And it immediately refreshed this view. Now, there was a question earlier, whoever asked it, I love that, but there's a place where you can actually go and update your token. So in here, when you receive this, it's going to have either a dead token because for my test, or it'll be blank, one of the two. Actually, I'll probably leave this in here, but it'll be a dead token. So you'll have to go get your token, and the way you do that is you simply copy all this out and then paste in your token, and you're done as far as this first step. Then you need to go through in the base URL and replace this with whatever it is that support gave you. Now, notice at the end here, it doesn't have the /API or the /UI. It just has to be the base URL. And that's something that we can help you a little bit with there. Okay. All right. So after that, we have canned queries in here, Power BI scripts for manufacturer listing. So instead of waiting on ChatGPT to figure yourself out, this is all done for you. Customers listing, contacts listing, and it's refreshing this data, by the way, from the server, quotes listing, PO listing, invoice listing, payments listing, and that Moser 2 thing. And this one's I'll have to show you here in a second because it gets a little more interesting. The way you use this is, let's say I want to go grab some POs listing. I would keep these base queries as they are right now and not change them, just let them be. And what you can do, and this is part of the instructions on that first page, is simply select everything and copy it. So I just did a Control A, Control C. That's that copy thing, okay? And then go back to where it says get data and say blank query. I like blank queries. There's a fancier way of doing this. If you like it, great. I'm a coder. I just want to see the code. So anyway, it pulls us in. By the way you read this in this example here is it does have a URL to our help articles out there. They may move a little bit, so ask support if it's a dead page or anything like that, but it should be mostly correct. And we create new ones every once in a while too. It works the same whether you're in a manufacturer listing or in this case is a PO listing. I pulled out some just generic stuff. So there's the IDs to the PO, there's the PO number itself, the project name, the status, the entry date. And by the way, where I'm getting all this is right back inside of OASIS. I click on orders, and that's anything that's in preferences is valid. Anything in either one of these boxes you can put in there. The hardest thing is knowing whether to put a space or not. that trips me up every so often. So it's total price, and I don't put any spaces in because I'm effectively a coder, but you have to put a space in to get it. And then you have to figure out your search. So I'm saying entry date from last month to today. So basically the first to last month to today. And you can use the relative terms like this, which is kind of neat. So you don't have to update those terms each time. In our documentation, there's other relative dates that you can use. So 2 weeks ago to today, 2 months ago from today, last quarter to today. All these are valid terms, and support can help you with the others in there. So that's based on entry date. So any questions so far? Because I have one other detailer that's important. When you're using orders, most people will want to use entry date. So that's the date of entry for the PO, and it includes the entire order. Sometimes you want to do on release date. That's a different conversation. Then you have to change your total price based upon the total release. So you think about some of those dates and how they're affected by the POs. And that is something support can help with, okay? We just can't help you with Excel. That's the only downside. All right, so I'm going to leave everything else alone and hit next. And now I have a new query in here. I like to rename it. So if I'd actually done was doing a project and said, this is Bob's report. So I could say where sales account equals Bob or something like that. What I'll do on this one is I'll simply say recent orders. Okay. And as soon as I do that, I know where I'm at. And I just say close and load the data, and it loads it into my spreadsheet. From here, I'm not real great in Excel, but you can create a pie chart. You can merge other data together, do pivot tables. I do that quite a bit. And it's just effectively part of the system at this point, or part of the Excel at this point. Any questions here? Let's do this one more time. So same thing as before. I'll go to data. I'll go to launch Power Query Editor. This time I'll go to quotes listing. In here, I have just the listing of items, again, that I'd want in from the OASIS screen. So I go to quotes or projects, it's the same actually. Do the find. And here, what you're going to want to do, double click, what you're going to want to do is base everything on the bid date. But another thing that's important is, and I didn't do this earlier, I'll add this back into the example here, but quote status, you'll want to add in the quote status you're interested in. Otherwise, you'll get a lot of closed quotes. And if you're trying to do like a follow-up report, which would be kind of neat, you definitely don't want the closed ones, because every time you do a new bid like inside of OASIS, it creates another bid and closes the old one, okay? So with that, I'll leave it wide open, just bid date to today. Normally what you'd want to do is what I was trying to get to there is you'd want status. And then you'd want a list in there. And I'll put that example inside this Excel spreadsheet before I send it back over to Sport. Okay. And at this point, looks good here. Let's go ahead and just do a copy. Create a new blank query. Next. And rename. And as soon as I do that, close and load. Now I have a recent orders tab, a recent quotes tab. Again, pivot table, create charts, whatever I need to do within the system. Okay. Any questions? Last one that's a little more complex. So again, videos are your friend out here. Probably not ChatGPT on this one because I find it kind of confusing, as we saw a moment ago. It can be real good and frustrating at the same time. The listings are real easy because I know, creating this example, that if you're doing a PO listing, you're going to want just fields from the listing. When you're doing one of the reports inside of OASIS, things are a little more complex. And let me explain. So the Moser 2, if you don't remember that, and again, this is just the desktop version. It works same on the online version. If you go to reports, Moser 2, and in here, let me see, simply do an update, and I see all the data that I have in here, all the test data. But I have the ability to show different values in here. So by default, it's going to show sales, earnings percent, and a few other items in here. I can turn these on or off based on what I would like to see, okay? And what's hard about creating this example is every time you add another column in here, Excel wants more information about that column. And I couldn't figure out a nice way to automate that without making it really confusing. As it turns out, it's really easy inside Excel to do this. So again, we were inside the Power Query Editor. I clicked on Moser 2. Let me go ahead and just copy everything and do just like I did before. I want to do, by the way, for some reason it wants to pull over here on this one. I know why, but it's hard to explain. And I'm going to go to get data and blank query, paste that in there. And then I need to tell it what I would like to see. So I want sales and earnings. I don't want the rest of this. So I'm going to get rid of it. Okay. And I have to get rid of my comma there. It's just Excel. And the rest of this you can kind of ignore. The main thing is I want my rows to be manufacturers. So manufacturers down the left-hand side, month across the top, okay? And search in here, I'm going to get rid of that one simply because that will cause weird stuff. I'll clean this one up a little bit. I don't want to search. I want it wide open for the current year, okay? And next. And when you do this, or as you start exploring a little bit with how Excel works, when you first pull the JSON in, and there's all that gobbledygook I had at the bottom, but when you first pull it in, you end up with a raw JSON document, this source thing. Okay, and again, this is a little more technical for most people here, but just bear with me here. On the reports, basically just know that you'll have this list looking thing here, and some other things you'll have to do here in a second. For you technical folks, all I did is I just loaded the raw JSON, and this is its view of what that JSON looks like instead of all the markup that's on there. So what I'll do is I'll click on the list, okay, and that instructed it to basically drill into that data. Then I'll click on the list itself, and I'm going to convert that into a table. I don't want to do any special handling on it. I just want to hit OK. And at this point, it has a little column detail here. So I'll click on that. And here's where I can select all the columns that I want to put in. And this is where things are kind of difficult in here, is you have to kind of go through and identify what you'd like to see or not see on it. But I'll hit OK. And at this point, I've pulled in all my data. Rename it. Okay. Close and load. Now, I skipped moving stuff around because it gets a little more interesting there. So any questions at this point? I think the technical people are wanting me to go faster, and everybody that's not technical is probably like, what is going on here? Okay. Let me go to the next level here, make sure the next screen here. So, all right. Went through fairly quickly, but I did customer listing, manufacturer listing, basically all the listings in there. I went ahead and added in Moser 2 on that. It's in beta, but it's worth showing because it's more of what I see coming just to make more and more data available. All right, so linking to Power BI, what I'll simply say is it works mostly like Excel, and I just want to show you a little bit on this one. I'm going to have to leave you with the videos, and actually this is where I found ChatGPT was a little bit better, is I was able to ask very specific questions. It was able to give me more specific answers, and it worked better. But let me get into Power BI here. And when you first log in, you'll be at the home screen and you'll have to create a workspace. I'm going to leave a lot of this to the videos. The main thing I wanted to go through here was pretty much the question that was asked before because it's very important as you migrate, as you figure out Excel, believe it or not, it starts making a lot of sense after a while. You just have to play with a little bit and ask questions of people as you get into it. But inside of Power BI, it's another concept, but it works very similar to Excel. And what I found I had to do is first I had to create a workspace, okay? And once you have a workspace, then you can actually go through and create what they call a data flow. And that data flow is where you actually go through and schedule the data being pulled into OASIS. So notice this looks very familiar. So those are the key things you'll want to look at. But once you create that data flow, again, leaving you the videos on that, and I apologize there, it's pretty easy. I can put in my base URL, just like I did before, my token, and even update my token from one spot based upon any of the queries I have in here. Then I can go through and name these queries however I want. So you can use the examples and pull them in, or create your own based upon your need and just give them a meaningful name because you can access any of these and have them update on the cycle you would like. Okay. Any questions so far? I'm just going to whet your appetite on this because it gets pretty crazy here. Oops, sorry. The next thing you'll want to do is, let me go back to my workspaces here. I'm sorry, my workspace. And what I'd like to do is, nope, I'm sorry, I want to create, get data, and it will show, normally it shows right in here. Oh, I got to select something in my workspace. Shoot. New item. Shoot. I'll have to leave that. I'm running short on time. There's a couple of things in here I'm still kind of figuring out too. The main thing I was trying to get to on this though is you can create a report and then it'll refer back to anything in the data flows. Part of it is I got an error on this because I ran something funky. And once you do that, it'll show reports. For example, I have count invoices per work group. So all I did on this one is create a report. Again, I'll just whet your appetite on it. And what it did is it used the invoices listing and it's counting by work group how many invoices I have. And it just pulls it in. So this is just a count. I could have summed by totals and create either a bar chart like this or a line graph or whatever I need. So again, I'll have to leave you to the videos on that. I'm kind of running short on time here. So. Any questions so far? I can't get super deep into Power BI, but I just want to show it to you and give you the hint that it's very similar to Excel, so you can start on Excel and learn, use it as a learning tool, if you will. Okay. Now, back here. All right, next one. Availability on this. Let me go back here. There was a detail error. Oh, the only other details on Power BI. Sorry, it works very much like Excel. It's a shared environment, so that error that I showed earlier, it runs in the background periodically, and it's pretty easy. You just go in and click on it; it'll show you the error. But it runs periodically, and you have to schedule the data pulls. In other words, it doesn't happen like Excel. It does it immediately. In Power BI, it waits on there. Okay, no questions. Kind of wrapping up here. Availability, this has been around for at least 2019 is when we had a lot of production folks out there. You must have Oasis Online, that was hinted at earlier. The support team here can help with the API calls. So if you're unclear on like the time frames that you can use last week, last month, or if you're having trouble specifying how that API is being called, or if it's returning something you don't expect, they can help with all that. They're not going to be gurus on Excel. I struggle a little bit myself, and I have to think about it myself. But there's just a lot of videos and a lot of help out there on that one. So that's where you'll have to go on those details there. And that's true for anything else that you're using the APIs for. Ever so often I get a call and it's like, hey, do you happen to know anything about XYZ or Power BI or something like that? I was like, not really. But it's there's a lot of good help out there on that one. All right. Common question we have. I have some folks that have been using the system for decades, and the first thing they want to do is they want to pull all the orders into their Power BI instance so they can report on them. Really good idea. Love it. Unfortunately, 20 years of data is going to take a while. It's going to probably time out somewhere in the system. My recommendation is try 1 year, and sometimes getting the historical data in there initially requires a little bit of finesse, for lack of a better term. And there are a few tricks we can help you with to some degree. Again, the different environments respond to those tricks better than others. It's hard to explain without getting the details in it. The main thing is experiment with dividing up the queries. So maybe you're getting 1 month at a time of data, depending upon your volume that may be required. And then you can pull that into Power BI or whatever system you're working in, and then use the reporting side of that to make it go for trending or whatever you're trying to do. If you need line level data, you are probably going to be a coder at the end. So that gets pretty technical at that point. What I like about the listings and the reports inside of Oasis is I can explain that to a user pretty easily. When you start needing line level data, then you have to understand how the transactions work. We can help you a little bit with that, but the bigger thing is how you store that inside your system, Power BI or whatever you're using, gets a little more technical, and that we can't help with. So just be aware if you need line level data, it's going to get pretty weird.
Hey, Brian.
Yep,
We do
go for it.
have a question. Can it pull custom search keys or tags, or does it only default to Oasis fields?
All of the above is fair game. Okay. So the only thing that's kind of weird is, let me see, I had an example here somewhere. Basically, when you name a key, a search key, love this question because I totally forgot it. We have a naming issue, but outside that, it works. Let me see, manufacturers. So I had a search key in here somewhere. So it says key and then key over here. I had another one in here. Anytime I have a key, I can create a column out of it. As soon as I do that, then I can pull it into the system. So I was doing some work for some folks and I left it in there. At that point, you have to use the prefix. Let me see if I can remember this. Yeah. Okay. Notice where it says key underscore M card. Okay. So in your listing, and again, this is the raw get, but inside of your Excel, you'll do something like, I love the fact that question was asked. Recent order sheet one. That one. All right. Kept this up for a reason. So I'm going to go back into my data. Sorry. Click on it twice, it hides it. Power Query Editor. Here's my query. And what I'll want to do is add in under the listing here, one more entry. And if I put key underscore underscore and then the name of my user search tag, it then appears in a column. Okay. And if memory serves, you can do the following. Pretty well answer the question. It's not set up on this database, so I can't actually use it, but we'll probably get nothing. Let's see what happens. I'll have to I'll update you on where the search side of this. It definitely comes in as a column. That definitely works. And then there's another little trick on the search key there. But any other questions on that? That's a very, very good question. All right. And the other thing that we have a lot of questions on is I need access to X data, inventory data, or whatever. The APIs that we have published out there is one basically on our help site. You'll see a number of them published out there and they're documented. If it's not up there, ask. We may be like in the case of Moser 2 in the process of standing up there. You'll be kind of a beta user, but at least be available. We do intend to add a lot more of these APIs, just making the data available to everybody. But just like anything else, they're going to go into our standard development cycle. They're not, super hard to do, but they do require us to task a developer and then just make it part of the development cycle there. So just ask support really, and we'll tell you if it's going to be something we do quickly or whatever the case is. But we do get a lot of questions on that one. Same for columns. We've had a number of them here recently where data was showing in the column in a certain way, and they wanted it shown a little bit different. We kind of have to talk that one through because we don't want to hurt other people that have already set up their APIs and their Power BI and everything like that. But we do add columns pretty frequently up here. I'd say about 1 or 2 a month at least. And then we do change them up a little bit to kind of help with the different environments as well. So it just kind of depends upon what you find out there. But ask support if you have any questions on adding columns or whatever it is. Questions so far? Actually, that's pretty much it. I am open for questions. Well, hopefully I didn't scare off anybody that isn't fairly technical because it's actually a little bit easier than I think I showed. I apologize. I will have the example Excel file available. The main thing is don't forget to put in your base URL and token. That is, we can help you with getting both those, but we can't help you inside Excel very much. But definitely give it a try. Outside that, if you're more technical and have other questions on the API, hopefully you see what's possible here because there really is a lot of neat stuff that I see folks doing out there. So experiment. If you have questions, give us a call. We're here to see what you need and make it happen.
I have a question. Hello.
Okay.
I have a question. I
Yeah.
can use it. I can use the bridge with this application with the accounting software.
Can I use what?
A bridge or something to use the accounting software to transfer the information to the accounting software. Which software accounting you can use with your system, your application?
Anything that runs JSON.
JSON. What do you mean is JSON?
So JSON or REST, or you'll see it also as REST.
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 QuickBook, no. You can't use the QuickBook with a Comba or something like that.
So QuickBooks is a little different. So now if you're actually want to integrate the two, we do have some integration, and we're actually our QuickBooks Online update is due out. Trini may have more on this one, but to integrate with another system, we have to code around it and kind of come up with processes. So there isn't a quick way to connect OASIS directly to another data system. You have to figure out where you're going to land the data and what you're going to do with it. So as far as a connector to QuickBooks, QuickBooks Online, we don't have at the moment, but that's about to come. QuickBooks Desktop, we've had that for decades.
QuickBook Online, no?
Not at the moment, but it is due. We have a project that's working through. I just don't know the date it's going to be released.
Do you have another one, another software, not QuickBooks, like a Comba or simple accounting or something?
No, we will probably only support QuickBooks, at least for now. to do full integration ourselves, we have to justify it, if you will. And we have a lot of QuickBooks users. We don't have very many folks that are consistently using another system. So QuickBooks Online is probably, well, most of our users are moving to online, and that's the reason why we have that project running. We've had QuickBooks Desktop users for forever.
Which do you know which software accounting use your customer right now? It's which one to use? Yeah, which one?
Most of them are on
Mostly
QuickBooks Desktop now.
QuickBooks Desktop. Okay.
And we're moving, we're going to also add in QuickBooks Online. That particular project is, I don't have a timeline on it, but it is actually being worked.
Okay, thank you very much.
Okay. Any other questions? It's a good one.
Yeah, thanks. Okay.
All right. Well, if there's no other questions, I do appreciate your time, and give it a try. Ask support if you have any questions, and we'll talk to you next month.
And just to answer a few questions that are in the chat, we will send the YouTube link out once it's ready, and we will also send the Excel spreadsheet in a follow-up email as well. But if you want to email support before that email goes out, you're more than welcome to.
Okay, have a nice day.
All right, thanks.
Thanks.